8868. Brian, welcome to the deep dive.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
No problem. I'm liking the beard. Fear the beard.
It's become a staple. It does a couple things. One, great insulation. Two, it hides the fact that I was born without a chin and I made up for it with extra chins.
I'm in the second boat. So. And what, you've shaved that twice in 15 years, you were telling me off air?
About 10 to 15 years. I think the last time I actually was down to where you could see my face was 2000, probably 12, 13, somewhere in there. And it was actually by mistake. I was going to just trim my beard and I didn't get the guard on all the way. So ended up taking it down to stubble. And I'd been with my wife at the time for maybe 3 months. And I video called her so she could see, and she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know." Well, then I got home and was sitting on the couch with her, and she goes, "You need to grow it back." And I said, do I look that bad or what? She goes, "No." She's a music teacher, and she was teaching high school at the time. She goes, "I feel like I'm dating one of my students." She goes, I just can't do it. I can't do it. So the beard had to stay. The only other time I'd shaved it off was intentional. My son was 2, and he'd never seen me without facial hair, and the reaction was glorious.
Only you would do it as a goof.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna get blamed for the therapy sessions when he gets older anyway, so I might as well give him a reason.
There you go. Speaking of therapy, you're in motorsports.
Yeah, I go back to Royal Jones, who got me started in all this. He was the first promoter to hire me, and he said one day, "We're all here because we're not all there," and I've pretty much seen that is 100% correct.
Well, you've certainly done it all in dirt track racing. I think talking to you, you've worked probably every job at a track. People mostly know you as an announcer, for ASCS, the Chili Bowl, obviously, which I'm sure maybe you'll try and convert me in during this interview. I doubt that'll happen, but no, but there'll be some subliminal messages.
Or is it we're going to be walking around here, going by the end of this screaming, "One of us, one of us."
No, I don't know about that.
How many movie buffs are going to know where that came from?
But so you're how old now?
38.
How did you get started in motorsports? Let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved? Your first foray in the motorsports?
I started as a fan. My family would go to the races, and then in 1993, my dad and my brothers actually started racing a hobby stock, and that kind of progressed from there. We got into sprint car racing in 1996, 97, and we did sprint cars all the way. We took a break after 2002. We went and raced on the road and found out how expensive racing really is, and got back into it a few years later. And we actually sold everything in the end of 2010. And in that time, I went from just casual fan to working on the cars, building the cars, owning the cars. And when I was in college, I was getting my degree in marketing. So it kind of started as a joke. In fact, it did start as a joke. Holly Jones was the manager of Southern New Mexico Speedway at the time, and she was trying to pit report, and either the mic wasn't working or the radio wasn't working, but either way, she couldn't get a hold of the tower to get this interview done. And I jokingly looked there and said, "Oh, hell, give me the mic." Well, she took me seriously. And I'm looking at Holly going, "You've known me way too long. Like, we went to school together." And I'm going, "I don't have a filter. Like, you don't give me an open microphone." And she goes, "No, like, will you try it?" Like, okay. I mean, and it's something that had always been in the back of my mind, is I wanted to be a commentator and work in motorsports, because I knew I wasn't going to be a driver. I had made that promise to my mom and my dad years ago that as long as they're around, I will not get in a race car. And there's more to that, but it's neither here nor there at this point. So the next week, I started as a pit reporter for Southern New Mexico, and that turned into also doing trackside for El Paso Speedway Park, and that was in 2006. In 2007, about midway through the season, the announcer at the time quit, and I took over as a master of ceremonies on 7-6 and 7-707.
I love the term master of ceremonies. We don't have that title enough in dirt track racing.
Well, it's either that or King of the Rednecks.
Well, and you know, as you don't have a filter, I usually don't have a filter asking questions. Why didn't you become a driver? I got to ask, what was the promise? Was somebody in your family injured? I mean, you don't have to go in too deep if you don't want to, but why not a driver?
My mom's first husband was killed in a sprint car.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense then.
So my dad was there that night, witnessed everything. Of course, my mom was there, and it was just better that I didn't. And kind of going back to that, when I was, a teenager, it frustrated me a little bit because I didn't understand at the time. Because my brothers raced hobby stock with my dad, and I'm going, man, well, they raced, why couldn't I? And he explained it to me, and I understood. But looking back now, when we got out of racing, with what my dad had told me at the time, I asked him, if you could change all of this, we went through a lot of financial hardships, we went through a lot of struggle. Would you change it? And he said, absolutely not. He said, you have to look at it this way. I'm not bailing you guys out of jail. I'm not paying lawyers' fees. I'm not paying child support for kids that you have all over the city. I knew where you were at. I knew you were safe. And we did something together as a family that I couldn't put a price on. He goes, you cannot put a price on peace of mind. So yes, I would 100% do it again. And as my dad put it, I could probably break a ball bearing with a rubber hammer. So it's a good idea that I didn't get in a race car.
Well, and look what it's turned into. I mean, this is your career.
Well, he told me, he goes, you can do anything you want. He goes, you can do anything you want in racing, just don't get in a race car. So the announcing, I feel like I'm kind of jumping around the timeline a lot here, but the announcing actually started by listening to a gentleman named Alan Moore, who was the announcer whenever I was growing up. And Alan is an interesting story too, because he did not have the use of his legs. He had contracted polio as a child, so he was on crutches his entire life nearly. But he had an incredible voice. I say had, he has an incredible voice. He's worked in radio, he's worked as a commentator, and he was my inspiration growing up. And he was one of those that could make flies buzzing around a windowsill sound exciting. So that's where my inspiration came from originally, was listening to him.
Well, you're one of the best announcers in the country. I've listened to many. I think you're very underrated. And no, it's not because you're on the show. I've told you this before. I think in the pit area at Knoxville, despite the fact that you do the Chili Bowl. And but no, you actually, and I got to say this before I go any further, you do a good job at the Chili Bowl. That is a great atmosphere for you inside, building, inside, in front of everybody. I've seen the hype that you kind of get started. So that might actually get me there someday.
Whatever we need to do. I mean, it's not like I don't know the guy that does the credentials.
Yeah, that's true.
Chili Bowl's interesting because the announcing is kind of a back burner thing for me. I enjoy building the track, deconstructing the track, the logistics of it, whether it's the parking, like that's actually more my priority than the announcing. Even though I do the entries and I have all the sponsors in front of me and I have a lot of the information, I feel like I'm about 3 steps behind Tony and Blake and everybody going in as an announcer, because I'm so focused on everything else. But
right,
it makes it interesting. It gives me something to look forward to every year, and it's a challenge. It probably helps with the unmedicated, ADHD I got going on here.
Well, we'll talk about that stuff in a minute. So you take the mic,
mm-hmm.
and you turn in the master of ceremonies, which is going to find a way into a story of mine at some point, because I just love that term. What did that all entail when you started that gig? I would assume you pretty much did everything.
Yeah, I was covering all the classes Friday and Saturday night, and then that turned into working in the marketing side with the two tracks and selling advertising, designing the program. If we had printouts, schedule printouts, anything like that, that was all stuff that I was starting to do. And was nice about it is I was going to college at the time for a marketing degree. So I was able to take what I was learning and apply it in a real world setting. And not only that, apply it in a niche marketing setting. And this is right when integrated brand promotion was starting to really work into the lexicon, where you had social media was starting to blow up. This is when Facebook and Twitter and everything was really starting to take off, and figuring out how to utilize that as a racetrack. And I remember in 2011 actually posting lineups and results for the first time to the Southern New Mexico Speedway Facebook page. And at that time, that was, I don't remember anybody else doing that. And I'm sure there was other tracks and sanctioning bodies doing it at the time, but I watched our social media jump from, minuscule to that was our main form of marketing by the time the season was done. So, I saw that going on whenever it first started. And this is when the algorithms were a lot different. It was more of a, kind of a raw feel. You weren't so much of, hey, well, if you spend this much, then we can expose you to more than 5% of your audience. This is when everything was just absolutely raw and real in social media. So it was interesting to see that evolve into what it is now and kind of follow that.
So I would assume your next job was ASCS.
They came through in 2010 on a 2-day show. Justin Zock was calling the sprint cars. I was calling the modifieds. And if it wasn't for the race that Stormy and Johnny Scott, along with Tommy Meyer Jr., put on that weekend, I don't know if they would have even taken a look at me. Those three in traffic were the race that weekend. I mean, I love sprint cars, but I also am a fan of anything that goes and so the modifieds put on a hell of a race that weekend. And we got done with the first night. I came in on Saturday, and Scott Traylor with Racing Boys, who was the broadcaster at the time, asked me, do you ever thought about doing this for a living? And I'm laughing, going, that's the biggest, redneck dream ever, is to get paid to be a race fan, essentially. And Donna, I didn't really take him seriously. And then Donna came in and she asked me the same question. I'm going, why are you guys asking me this? Like, I'm nobody from nowhere. And went ahead, got a resume and all my credentials and everything together. And I started part-time in 2011. In fact, the first race I called was in February that year at Tulare. And I called the broadcast. The track, not knowing the series had hired their own announcer at the time, had hired Bobby Gerald. So Bobby handled the PA duties and I did the broadcast.
Okay.
So I ended up doing 2 races in California, the 2-day show in Tucson, went back, did the whole season, El Paso and Las Cruces, and at the Devil's Bowl Winter Nationals that year, I actually got hired full time and started with ASCS at every national event starting in 2012.
At that point, what was going through your mind to get hired? Because ASCS, even at that time, I mean, there were some guys there. I mean, you had some national names there, and it was a series that had regional racing and obviously their national tour. What's going through your mind as you're getting hired to do this essentially national gig?
What the hell did I just get myself into? that was really the first thought I had, because I hadn't realized the gravity of what I was getting ready to take on until I really started taking it on. And it took a couple years to really kind of get figured out into a rhythm and decide that this is what I wanted to do, because it's grueling. There's this idea that racing on the road and being a part of this deal is somehow glamorous and fun. And don't get me wrong, it's fun, but you have to be 100% just infatuated with it. It has to be the greatest addiction ever for you to stay in it. Because I see, even on my side or on the team side, one of the biggest problems they have is finding crew members that will stay more than a month or two. And I've seen a lot of people come and go on both sides of the aisle, whether it's on the PR and the officiating side or on the crew member side. And once I figured out that, yeah, this is what I want to do, then I just bared down and just kind of went for it and really tried to learn and hone my craft. And I'm fortunate that I met guys like Chris Steppen along the way who really helped me a lot. And he's on the late model and modified side. In fact, if you watch Volusia, he was the one calling the dirt car late models and the UMP dirt car modifieds
Right.
alongside Johnny Gibson. And then he called the late models whenever I was there with USAC. And he's one that's been an absolutely fantastic friend and a great teacher through all this. And then Tony Bachhoven's another one that when I first took over as the MC at those tracks, I had done trackside, but I'd never really done, calling a race from top side. So I went back and pulled the VHS tapes, yes, VHS tapes from Knoxville when we raced up there in 2000, 2001 and 2002. And I listened to Tony. So for the first couple of years of announcing, I was the Timu version of Tony Bachhoven. It was the biggest ripoff you'd ever seen in your life. But I learned a lot from him and was able to communicate with him before I ever even started this. And he gave me a lot of pointers. Justin Zock gave me a lot of pointers. Alan Moore. I was able to talk to him as my childhood announcing hero, and he gave me a lot of pointers. So, people like that have been there along the way, and then meeting like Chet and Bobby and all them, and been able to learn from them. And there's parts of my announcing that if I say certain things, it's actually nods to them. So like with Tony, his one of his deals is your battle is for the lead. Anytime I say that, that's my nod to Tony. The sit back, relax, and enjoy when they're coming around for the green flag, that's Chris. Just little things like that where I'm acknowledging the people that taught me along the way.
Oh, that's interesting. I think
so. That brings up the question.
Go ahead.
And it's funny, social media, they were kind of torn about it whenever I was doing the shows down in Florida. Why in the hell does lunch money have anything to do with racing? And I'll tell you where that came from. Sarah Q was the scorer in Las Cruces and El Paso. Now, if I had to describe Q, she's about the most real gangster I've ever met in my life. And you either knew Q, which was, she would just look at me and go, "Yo, B Money," or you knew Sarah, which is customer service voice. "Hi, how are you? How can I help you?" So Sarah, this will give you an idea who Sarah is. She does not like sprint cars. She's a huge modified fan. Ryan Gustin, one of her absolute favorite drivers. Of course, Johnny and Stormy Scott, they, of course, coming from Las Cruces. She walks up to Steve Kinzer at a World of Outlaws race with Royal Jones, of course, Mesilla Valley Transportation, who sponsored Steve. Looks right at him and goes, "I really have no idea who you are, but you got a big ass Q in the center of your wing, so I think you're dope as shit." That straight to Kinzer's face, and he's laughing his ass off. And he's like, "Get this woman a hoodie." But that's Q. So they're coming around. I've got the hype music going. We're getting ready to get lined up into the 4 wide that we're doing and get done with that. And Q looks at me. She goes, "Yo, B Money, I've been saving lunch money for this shit." That's where the lunch money came from. That is another nod. That is my nod to Q. And the joke was, this is what you save your lunch money for.
Welcome, everyone, to the SprintCarUnlimited.com live show. I'm Jeremy Elliott, as everyone knows. I know everybody's watching the Chili Bowl, but we figured we would go live anyway. So we're going to just jump right into the chat. I mean, we could talk about anything you want. We did a 90 at 9 on Don Kreitz Jr. We talk about the PA Posse Sprint Car Series, World of Outlaws, Midwest, High Limit, whatever you want. And we'll stay on as long as there's people. So, again, let's go to the chat. Eric, start firing away. Jeremy is hosting the Chili Bowl watch party. No, not a Chili Bowl watch party. I did try and do a screen, but there are some legalities to that. I checked with Flo, doing the right thing, and I didn't expect them to allow that. And quite honestly, I would have been shocked if they would have. So, and I have no problem with them saying no. It's their broadcast. So, no, not a watch party. It's same show as every week, and we'll answer your questions. Is Brian Brown, if I could speak, I'd answer him. Is Brian Brown back to 100% health after the injury last year? And what are the odds? What are his odds to score a crown jewel or other major like Tusky in his career? I actually do want to do a story on that. I think he's I think he's, getting close if he isn't already. Back to 100%. He's probably not 100% after the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. I think that's probably a bigger wellness check than his hand. As far as winning a crown jewel, they're really tough. And you still have all these young guys, David Gravel, Buddy Kofoid's going to start knocking them off at some point. Carson Macedo already has a couple. Rico Abreu's probably the next guy in line to be a first-time winner of a crown jewel. By that, I mean Kings Royal, Knoxville Nationals, Williams Grove National Open. As far as a major like the Tusky, I mean, sure, it's definitely possible, but I think it's going to be really tough at this point. I don't know how long Brian, I knew he just re-upped with FVP. I could see him winning a major. But the other thing is he doesn't run a tour. So that cuts down on the number of events that he's in line for. He's not going to the West Coast for the high limit stuff, which would be the Gold Cup, Skagit Nationals. He doesn't go to the Super Dirt Cup. I don't think he's great at Huset, so I'll say no there. Just trying to run through them. The Tuscarora 50, he's good in PA. I'd say the Tuscarora 50, a race he's won already. I think that might be his best chance. But with high limit there, I think that's going to be rough. So a major, I would say probably something that pays 50,000 or more. Probably not. If you had to pick the winner of the first PA Posse Series championship, boy, that's tough because I don't know who's going to run it. I'll take Danny Dietrich. I just don't. I know he could miss more races than other people where he doesn't get the mulligans, but I just think he's better at all the tracks. So Wagaman's a good choice. I thought Wagaman initially, but he's not great at Port. And Danny's good at all those places. So I'm going to say Dietrich. How do you feel about the PA Posse Series taking out the 10 races from Speed Week and keeping the same point fund? Hopefully a couple more guys, Billy Dietrich, run the full series. Billy Dietrich's not running the full series. There's no way. There's a lot of – look, I'll start with a positive. I like the fact that they were thinking out of the box and this series is just too many races. Okay. We've talked about it here. Teams have said stuff on social media. So I'm glad they were thinking about it. I just don't know how much those 10 races, taking those 10 races out of the points matter. And the reason is because people are going to run them anyway, because they're higher paying shows. Even your lower buck guys are going to run, they'll run the first 3 or 4, maybe they'll run Friday at the Grove, then they'll run Lincoln, Baps, and Lincoln. They're going to run those 4. It'll drop down at Grandview, Hagerstown, be back up again at Port Royal. Selinsgrove will probably be down again, will be down in that 27, maybe 30 range because it's the last one. So, but they're going to run shows anyway because they pay more. I mean, the purse for the Monday Steve Smith tribute race is $166,000. The Bandit Challenge alone, which if you earn the pole for the main event and take the challenge to start 19th, you get $6,619 and you don't even have to pass a car. You can drop out the first lap and you get that. So again, I don't think it affects, I don't think people are going to go, oh, they got rid of those 10 races. Now I'm going to be able to run the other 37. You still have 2 at Bedford, 2 at Bridgeport, 2 at Clinton County, 4 at Selinsgrove, and 2 at Path Valley. And they're all over the place on Sunday night. And not all of them, but some of them are on Sunday nights. Guys work the next day. So I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have. And I still have my doubts. But look, at least they were thinking in the right direction. Now, here's the caveat to all that. If you get 20% rainouts, now you're down into that 25 range. If you, into that 28, you're in 28 range, and then you take the 3 mulligans. Now you're down to a 25 race series. Now you might be able to, it's all going to depend on weather at this point. But the 10 race deal, I think it helped from a points fund standpoint that you don't have to run those, but I don't think it helped from a race count, if that makes sense. Has Chase Randall committed to high limit for 2026? Not as of now. I have heard that they're building cars. I've heard that he's lost his major sponsor, so I am unsure what is going to happen with that team going forward. Again, from everything that I've been told, Albach isn't back, but that's not confirmed. Just so people know. But I did hear that they are building cars, and that I did get confirmed. So, not committed to the series yet. And before I go further, I got to say we're giving away tickets to Baps Motor Speedway for their $5 show again in June. I forgot to mention at the beginning, and Eric's giving me the old, he's giving me the business on the screen below the monitor. So it's going to be on the half hour, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. So just call in. You get 2 tickets and talk to Eric. You get 2 tickets to the $5 show, Baps Motor Speedway in June. It's going to be a 410 event. It's not a junker show. So it's been popular, and I know they're selling seats. So, all right, next up, hit the like button. Thank you. I appreciate that. Especially tonight. I don't know what we're going to do against Chili Bowl. Have you heard anything about the new Huset's dirt other than what Chaz said? I'm not sure what Chaz said. I have heard that, I've talked to a couple of guys behind the scenes there. I guess it's banked a little more. It doesn't, and it's, they think it's going to be good. Okay. Now I didn't expect them to tell me it was going to be bad, but, they came in, and I guess they took some off and put this on, or took all of it off. And I'm not sure how they did it. I've heard conflicting things, but I think I would have mixed it with the old stuff and just let it open, let nature take its course. I know that's worked in the past other places, and going to a hole where you take all the dirt off, if that's what they did, and then put the new stuff on, I don't know how that is. So, I mean, but supposedly the shape, it's it's continuous. There's no shelf or anything, and guys are hopeful about it. They think it's going to be better. Should there be an age limit to racing? I think I think for certain divisions. I think I have no problem with an age limit for World of Outlaws events. I think people got to understand, and everybody wants to just throw away the fact that they're kids, but there's cognitive thinking. There's cognitive ability. When you're younger, you don't have all the common sense in the world. So I do like age limits for depending on the division. Now, obviously, kids got to start somewhere. So I'm not talking about like micros or little bandits or whatever you want to call them. I'm talking about a 410 sprint car, maybe the 360 division. At the very least, I like competency tests. I could show up in a sprint car at Williams Grove for the opener. Let me tell you something. I shouldn't be able to. You don't want me in a 410 sprint car at the season opener, but I can do it. So I like making sports, you have to earn your way. So I'm okay with an age limit. The NFL has an age limit. So for certain divisions, yes, just because you cognitive thinking, maturity, so on and so forth. These cars they're not like driving street cars. Okay. So they're not like driving little go-karts. So yeah, I know that's probably not popular, but yeah, I definitely think there should be something in place. Thank you, Sprint Car Limited, and Eric got my tickets on Monday. Good. Yeah, I know Colton got them last week, and they're actually giving a ticket away. It's not just a barcode or everything. I think that one of the lost, I've seen a lot of old style tickets from games and all-star games and stuff like that lately, and they're really sharp, and they're keepsakes. And you don't have that anymore in racing. And I think Colton's doing a good job with that. I think Sammy proved there needs to be an age maximum last night. Yeah, I mean, again, I think people, if we're going to make this sport advance, I think you got to have standards. There's, and I know that, again, that's not popular, but I think there needs to be standards. I think it needs to mean more. People don't just spend money and get in a car. Now, I have not seen Sammy race since the Nationals. So I didn't watch last night, but I'm not opposed to a maximum either. Were you at the Hershey Bears game on Saturday? I'm not sure what to think about U8 players holding the title for Brawl of the Year. Yes, I was there. I thought it was disgraceful. I thought it was an embarrassment. I know I've heard, even my daughter, who's 13, looked at me and go, "What's this?" Here's why, and I know people are like, "Oh, let the kids have fun." Okay, so scoring goals and showing your skill in front of 10,000 people isn't fun. I thought it was a poor representation of youth hockey. I think the coaches should never coach ever again. To come out there and present that in front of 10,000 people, because they only get like 5 minutes of ice time, something like that. They spent 3 minutes and 30 seconds fighting. A goalie took a running start from the other end of the ice and decked a kid. And it's made the news. It was I have a friend of mine who saw it on Fox News Australia. It was on a local Fox network in Australia. So it's gone worldwide. The Bears have released a statement saying that they're investigating. The league's also investigating it. Here's the thing. I go back to what I said about racing. You have sharp skates, and you're depending on an 8-year-old to be able to pile on. And it was staged, by the way. You're depending on an 8-year-old to be able to control their skates and not cut somebody across the throat. I've seen skate cuts. It's not pretty. So I thought it was an embarrassment. And again, you had 5 minutes of ice time in front of 10,000 people, and that's what you presented. That I thought it was an embarrassment. Any update on Buddy's health? You know, I've heard 3 different things, and it has to be pretty serious. I did reach out to him, wished him well, and he said thank you, and that was about it. He didn't really elaborate on what's wrong. Again, I've heard different things. You know, I've heard everything from appendix to gallbladder to it's all over the place. People are speculating. I do not know what it is. I wish him the best and hope he's okay for the season. Why don't you like the Chili Bowl? I'm not a midget guy. That's first and foremost. I'm not a midget guy. And I guess let's put it this way. I don't hate it as much as I used to. Now I just don't really think about it that much. I just think, first off, is it $20,000 now for an event that draws 404 cars? And people could say about the Golden Driller, I would probably melt it down and sell it. I just don't. And I get why they like it. I'm just not a midget guy. I've never been a midget guy. And I think it probably stems from that. If that event was in June, it wouldn't sell. I think Emmett Hahn came up with a gold mine. I think he did a great job. You know, I think he does an unbelievable job putting on that event. I think it's big. Obviously, a lot of people watch it. People go to it. I have no desire to go to it because I don't want to choke on fumes for 5-6 days. I have no desire to do that. And I'm not interested in it. And I think it's because of midgets. That's kind of a weird answer, but I don't have a specific reason. Where can we get SCU merch? It's funny. I was talking about that tonight before the show with someone. So I will, again, I'm looking into merchandise. I do not currently have merchandise, but I'm looking into it. Jeremy, I'll print your merch. Hey, reach out to Eric, give him your name and number. If it's a legitimate company, I don't know who you are. So I am looking into merch with various companies. I have to decide, do I let the company handle sending it out, or do I have it sent to me and I'll send it out? And the reason is because the markup, I want to see what the margins are. So I need to look at a couple things before I get it nailed down. Why are you so against Sealands Grove running Friday nights? They are more about fans than other tracks with these promotions last year, and concession prices are lower of all the tracks last year. Look, I do not believe, if you're going to work together and everybody's going to do this kumbaya thing, you don't schedule on top of each other. Selinsgrove never ran Friday nights against the Grove. Why now? There's a couple reasons I don't like it. Number one, it looks like you went after Williams Grove. And I know I hear the old, well, a couple drivers said this. You know what? Look at their car counts. Obviously, it doesn't work. I've also been there, and guess what? Fan count didn't work either. I've also have some people there I know who what the plus minus is for the year. So that's number one. Number two, the fact that their concession prices are better than all the tracks, that's great. I think that's fantastic. I have no problem with them running 410 races, but just there's enough Sunday nights to do it. And I know here's the other argument. Well, Port Royal and Lincoln do it. Yeah, they've also made it work for decades. You're a new regime at a track that, let's face it, has a little egg on its face from the last 3 years, whatever it is. Or I should say 2 years before but you got to rebuild it. So the answer is run against Williams Grove on Friday night. That was the answer. I just thought, I didn't think it was a good move. I still don't think it's a good move, because here's the other thing. Look where your teams are from. You're not getting a ton of Port Royal cars. We see that in the rundown. So that means you're asking teams to come from Harrisburg South. You want them to go up 11 and 15 on rush hour traffic on a Friday. That's not a good business plan. And again, people complain about the Grove, but yet they go there. The teams support the place. So my problem, I just didn't like the business plan. It's as simple as that. I didn't understand it. And Justin didn't like it at the Grove. The Grove wasn't supporting it. Furthermore, I know on Facebook, they said this year that they talked to Justin and he was okay with it. My conversation with Justin was different than theirs. So, the ironic thing is, we got this big release about this PA series. We're all working together. 3 hours later, Selinsgrove released its schedule, and they still had 2 races against the Grove. It's not exactly working together now, is it? And I know Justin doesn't like it. I don't care what they said on Facebook. They can say what they want, and that's fine. I have nothing against Selinsgrove. I hope they do well. I hope, they make a ton of money and they revitalize the track after the regime that just left. I wish them nothing but the best. But I don't think running against Williams Grove was the right move. And obviously it wasn't the right move, because last year they did it like 4 times, or they tried to do it 4 times. This year they did it twice. So if it worked, they would have done it more. So I think my point was proven. I'm not a Williams Grove fanboy. It's common sense. Regardless of what anybody thinks, Williams Grove is still the big banana in this area. If Williams Grove would go away, this area would suffer. It's not being a fanboy. I don't like everything they do. I've been critical where it's been needed. But I just think picking on Williams Grove probably isn't a smart thing to do. What are your thoughts on the cockpit shock adjuster? Car owners complain about escalating costs, tires, engines, but still allow the additional optional expense. I've heard it's not an expense. I've talked to Ryan Hand about it on our podcast. He said, anybody that tells you it's an added expense, it's really not. It's a couple dollars. He said it's nothing. But I don't think it does I don't think it does much. I did a 90 at 9 on this, and the teams all said they don't really think it does much. Ricky Warner didn't even use one with Rico Abreu last year. I mean, if it was such a big advantage or if it was such an important thing, you would think they would use it, especially with a series in high limit where there's so much money and you're looking for every advantage you can get. Anthony Macri used it once earlier in the year and then took it off until I think later in the year he ran a high limit race. I don't know, it might have been Lernerville. So I just don't think it makes that much of a difference. And as far as expense, I'm told it's next to nothing. Just curious, where do you rank the Tusky among the biggest sprint car races? Where do I rank the Tusky? I think it's the second biggest race in Central PA. I know the White Group pays more, but the Tuscarora 50 is bigger. It's prestige. Been around longer, obviously. I would say top. Just thinking off the top of my head, probably between 5 and 10 in the country. I think it's in the top 10 in the country, which I think that's good. I mean, there's a lot of big races now. So yeah, I think the Tuscarora 50 is pretty good. And second in Central Pennsylvania. Has a driver ever said in victory lane, I won because of the adjustment I made with the shock? Never. And I've talked to all these guys. I've talked to a lot of guys about this. And it's not going to take a 6th place car to the front. It's now, I'm sure somebody will dispute that, but again, you're correct. I've never heard that. Have they done anything to address the rocks at Vegas? I mean, I'm not there, so I know they are probably going to go around the track and pick them out again. They did that last year, actually. They went around and tried to get as many rocks as they could. It's just a rocky surface. I mean, I don't know if it comes up through because of the area it is. I've heard that. It's always been like that. And hopefully they get more of them, and hopefully nobody ends up with a busted up face. Jeremy, I think we're overdue for a long form catch-up interview with Dr. Midnight. Dr. Midnight's always a pleasure to have on. I'm not going to disagree with you. We'll see if we make that happen at some point. Why aren't admission prices announced for PA Sprint Series? The Point Fund and series sponsors have been announced. It's up to the track. It's not a set price. It's so, Williams Grove, Lincoln, and Port Royal, Selinsgrove, Baps, Bedford, Clinton County, Path Valley, they can all set the price at what they want to set it at, which I would assume it'll be between somewhere, it'll probably be $25 to $30. I've heard 25 for some, and I've heard 30 for others. So you can bank on 25 to 30. It's a $6,000 to win show, $600 to start. That's your base. Like that's your bottom tier purse. So that's going to be 25 to 30. Will Dylan Sisney be back in the Stuart Smith Racing 27S in 2026, or is Robbie Kendall coming back to the car? I've heard Dylan Sisney is in line for that car. Talking to him, it was before the holidays, but I expect him. I think it's going to depend what Robbie wants to do. I don't really know if Robbie's interested in coming back, but from what Dylan told me, he has an option to drive that car. Did Sheldon sign with his team yet? I'm assuming that everything's good. I don't think the issue. I don't think the issue is him signing. I think it's more of a sponsor, just getting everything buttoned up with sponsorship. And maybe they just don't want to announce anything. But he's going to be with KCP, Rippers with KCP. So, I mean, we all know it. I don't think it's a matter of him signing. Not at this point, anyway. Will you be starting a second channel called Hockey Unlimited? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no. I have enough to do. I have enough things to get me in trouble. I don't need another one. Although, Eric's, I don't know what he's doing. He got a haircut. He looks all different. He's all GQ now. He's telling me about it earlier when we were preparing for the show. He said $30. What was it? $30? $30 to get the works. You got shaved, haircut, hot towel. You got everything. What are we doing over there, Eric? Ah, there it is. If my Powerball numbers come through tonight, okay, I'm buying Ron Helmick, 3 Morrisons, and 1 Charlie Garrett 410. Well, I don't think you're going to buy him a Charlie Garrett because I don't think he's doing it anymore. I think he retired. So I don't think you're buying a Charlie Garrett. But hey, if your Powerball number comes in, don't forget the little people. How's that? I don't even play. I should play, and I don't play. Congrats to, we got our 8 p.m. winner, David I can't even pronounce that. Eric's laughing at me. I think it's probably a made-up name. Menacucci? Hey, see, I got the thumbs up. Menacucci. David Menacucci. Congratulations. Colton Gauss will make sure that you get your tickets to that BAPS race. Thank you. Are you happy Tomlin quit? I think he's a good coach. I think it's just a matter of the message got old. I think you can stay somewhere too long. I think the organization needs a change. I think he needs a change. Thought the same thing of John Harbaugh. I remember when Jeff Fisher left Tennessee, and I thought that was the same situation. Just needed a change. I don't think Tomlin's a bad coach. I thought it wouldn't have mattered what happened last night from the standpoint of that Texans defense is good. They are good. And Pittsburgh's offensive line is sketchy. Tomlin didn't make one block. Tomlin didn't throw one pass. You know, I think there's some organizational. I don't think he does not have full reign over the roster there. Just from, at least from when I covered it, it wasn't like he was in the draft room dictating everything and who they were picking. They've ignored quarterback for how many years? And I think that's a problem. So Tomlin's going to go somewhere else, I think. But I think he's a good coach. I just think it just, the two sides needed to go different directions. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for both of them. Not a Steelers fan, but all right. We have Ken on line 1. Ken, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good this week, Jeremy. I've been looking at this enough shows at Port Royal, Williams Grove, and Lincoln that are extra paying races that they could have had them as part of the series instead of just adding $6,000 to win races. Those are the ones that the fans aren't going to think, well, I'm going to the same race, the same cars, and I'm going to pay a little bit more.
Right. Hey, Ken, I apologize. The screen froze. I don't know if it was an internet surge or what. Can you just really quick repeat the question again? I apologize for that.
Okay. I was saying that I think that they went about it the wrong way. They added or they subtracted races, the 10 speed week races, which should be part of the series because those are extra paying races. They should have dropped these $6,000 to win races that are just added as PA Speed Week races that aren't going to pay anymore. They're not going to get any cars extra, probably from Port Royal or Lincoln, and you're going to go there and see the same cars just for paying $6,000 to win and probably a little bit more to get in.
Okay, Ken, here's the problem with that. The problem with Speed Week being a part of the series is there's only 8 guys, 8 to 10 maybe, who are going to run the whole series because people work. And in Pennsylvania, we never have more than, I mean, there's times I think we've had 6 guys run the whole series. So you're asking a lot of guys to run 10 nights in a row. And now you're going to not only bang them on Speed Week points, now you're going to bang them on the other points as well. I don't think Speed Week should be a part of it at all because it's 10 races. It would have been 12 races in 17 nights for working people who have jobs because and there's just not enough. I just don't think anybody would run it. I think it would make it worse than what it'll be now. I thought it was a good move. Again, do I think it's going to make a drastic change? No. I think the real issue, Ken, is you went to Bedford, you went to Clinton County, you went to Bridgeport, you went to the far reaches of the region, and on a Sunday for some of those shows. And I thought you should have just kept it, Baps, Lincoln, Sealands Grove, Williams Grove, Port Royal the first year, and then maybe expand a little bit. Just my opinion. But Speed Week, there aren't many guys who can run all 10 nights of Speed Week.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, over the years, I've been, a part of it. And there's years that we might have got 8 or 10, but
right.
It's hard to run them all. And then then a lot of times they had some outsiders come in and were part of the 10 that did run the whole series. But I just still, I don't know how many people are going to go to these, shows that are just 6,000 to win and they're part of this PA Speed Week. I
agree.
I'm not going to circle them on my calendar.
I agree with you. And Ken, here's the other problem. If you being a fan, are you going to pay a little more to go to a series race when you can see the same guys the next week in a regular weekly show at a cheaper price? That's
100% what I feel. If it's just a regular show, I might stay home and watch Flow or watch something else. We'll see how it works out. I certainly wish them the best. I know with the Sealands Grove deal, I remember back in after the Jack Dunn days, which might be before your time. Sealands Grove tried Friday nights back then, and they had all the big guys from Williams Grove did come and run Sealands Grove, and they still couldn't make it go. So they're not going to make it go this time. I mean, look, they had 13 one night. I don't know how many the other night, but it's definitely a bad idea.
Look, Ken, and I agree with you. Look, I have nothing against Sealands Grove, but I had to give my opinion on what they were doing because it's news in the area. And here's the thing, too. You're right. And by the way, Remember in the 1980s when Hagerstown went against Williams Grove and they got Keith Kaufman, they got Doug Wolfgang, they got the Aishes, and they couldn't make a go of it. It is very, very hard to run against Williams Grove. Very hard.
Especially when all the cars
Right.
are down there in that area.
Yep.
The biggest problem Selinsgrove has is a few years back, they went away from the regular Saturday night show and they went to Sunday nights, and they tried to get all the big names to come to Selinsgrove on a Sunday night. Well, what happens is a lot of the smaller guys that were racing Selinsgrove got out of racing because they couldn't compete with the big 3 or 4 that were coming every week.
Right.
When they were running their regular Saturday night program, they were fine. But when they tried to go and get the big dogs, it backfired, and then they had to end up going back down to 360s, and from there it was all downhill.
Yep.
So that's where it all started, though, when they tried to go Sunday night and tried to lure all the big boys there on a Sunday night, and they got 3 or 4 of them, but they didn't get a lot of other cars, and they didn't have a lot of fans, and pretty soon Sunday night fizzled out.
No, I wish them.
So I wish them the best.
I wish
the series the best, and I wish you the best.
Oh well, thank you.
I know the Cowboys are
they're
gonna make some improvements. I have a feeling.
You keep hanging on to that.
So you have a good week.
You do the same, Ken. Thank you. All right. Sorry that everything froze, guys. It was, I don't know what happened. Everything my internet was okay. At least it looked like that from a distance. I remember the days when the top wings were fixed. Yeah, they were less hydraulic, ran an adjuster, money currently used. Now drivers adjust the top wing to track conditions and fuel load. Yeah, I mean, look, it's technology. In tennis, they used to use wooden rackets. Now they don't. Drivers have changed in golf, the shafts, all of it. It's technology. It's not going anywhere. It's going to continue. I mean, and the expense is going to go up. It's just a product of, I guess what you would say, progress in technology. Didn't midgets used to have top wings? Yeah, they used to have the ARDC midgets. I know they were popular in this area, and that series is now defunct. So, yeah, they did, but the wing isn't. If they had wings now, it doesn't mean I would be a big fan of them. I mean, again, look, Chili Bowl's popular. I accept that it's popular. We talked about it on the podcast, which will be out tomorrow, because Ryan didn't have internet for Sunday and part of Monday. So we had to do it tonight, and it'll be out tomorrow. But it's just not my bag. It's okay if other people like it. I'm not. That's up to them. It's a free country, at least we think it is. But yeah, it's just not my thing. I was impressed with seeing Dirt Vision being there and doing a pre-race show. Yeah, I don't know why they don't do more of that. Honestly, and I probably shouldn't say this, but they should probably do it for every World of Outlaws event. They have the resources. They have the studio. They have, everything's in place. I'm envious of what Flo and Dirt Vision have as far as resources at their disposal. So yeah, I would expect that they should do pre-race, post-race. You have the resources, you might as well use them. Eric's struggling a little tonight. What is he doing there? He gave me the have you ranked the top 10 sprint car races? If not, can you? I did that I did that going into a season like 3 years ago. I mean, yeah, I can do a repeat of that. I can do it on SprintCarUnlimited.com. That'd be a good post for leading into the season, the 10 biggest races of the year. That's actually a good idea. Or maybe a 90 at 9. Knoxville Nationals, Kings Royal National Open. What other races rank above the Tusky? I know there are races that pay more, but you've said before a big race has to have history and atmosphere too. I would say the Gold Cup Race of Champions in California. There was a time when that flirted with being a crown jewel. It was 50,000. It has the history. It now's back to 100,000. Now you don't get everybody there, but either does a Tuscarora 50. So I would say, and again, I use the history when it comes to crown jewels, but Gold Cup Race of Champions is one. I think Huset's now, while it doesn't have history, it's just so lucrative at this point. I mean, you're talking $300,000 to win that thing next year. If you ask somebody, a traveling team, if they want to win the Tuscarora 50 or Huset's, they're gonna. If they don't say Huset's, I don't know I don't have an answer. They need more history there. Agreed. But there was a long time that the Tuscarora 50 paid $10,000. So, and look, I love the Tuscarora 50. Lauda just brought up the Dirt Cup. The Super Dirt Cup's been around for a long time. It's been around a long time. And, you know, there's other races out there. You know, I mean, I like the Tuscarora 50 more than the Weikert because the Weikert's still new. But there's races out there. And I said between 5th and 10th. Skagit Nationals. Now, I don't know their history as much. I think at one time that was a 360 show. Might be wrong on that. I haven't, you know. So I mentioned the Brad Doty. Pay needs to be higher. A lot of history. Pay needs to be higher. And not as much history, obviously, as a Tuscarora 50, I don't believe. So, but yeah, I mean, 6th, 7th, somewhere in there. You know, that's pretty good. It's still pretty good. The Silver Cup used to be what now, I don't even know if it's going to be around at this point, but Silver Cup was always, I mean, that was 25 grand, 30 grand for a lot of years. So I think, you know, there's a lot of races, a lot of big races now. So, Front Row Challenge, where's that rank? Now, it doesn't get the car count, the Tuscarora 50. I put the Tusky ahead of that. So, but again, between 5 and 10. What do you think about the Chaz killing it with his diet? Is this Sugar Bear? Killing it with his diet and getting a late model ride. Do you think him and Sean will be great friends after the move to Florida? I have no clue whatsoever. I have no clue. I couldn't even begin to answer that. It has to be a burner account. I like the Ironman 55. Good point. Good point. Definitely a twist to it. But, I mean, Tuscarora 50 has 50 laps as well. It's not around Peevely, but, yes, the Ironman 55. Don't you think that area promoters need to be more creative in the racing program speed-wise? Okay, I know what you mean. And change qualifying procedures and maybe eliminate heat races, consider mini features. You're asking a sport that hates change to make a huge change. I don't know if you need to go that drastic. I just need to, okay, less support divisions. I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't have a big problem with that. Lincoln's really good. Most of the time, they only have 2. The Grove has 2 most of the time. BAPS, when they have their 410 sprint car shows, usually have 2. So that's not bad. But getting rid of heat races and just going from, say, time trials to mini features, I don't like the mini features thing. And people are going to complain about their entertainment dollar. People complain now. If you give them less racing, they're really going to complain. It's going to be a lot worse. So I just don't think that's a move you can make. I just think you need to streamline things. I think you need to stop messing around, stop wasting time. The Grove, in between the consi and the feature, Jesus. I could run down the street and eat a 3-course meal. It's just, yeah, you just gotta keep it moving. And I still think you can do your pomp and circumstance. I just think you just need to be aware of the time and people's attention spans. Thoughts on the 49ers defeating the Eagles on Sunday? That has to be Eric. Yes, it is. I think I think Shanahan is the best play caller in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan is the best play caller in the NFL. I think he should get coached. I know Vrabel did a fantastic job, and it's a regular season award. I think Vrabel did a great job. I think the guy in Jacksonville, Cohen, did a great job. I think there's a lot of, McDonald up in Seattle, but Kyle Shanahan lost his starting quarterback for 7 weeks. He didn't have his best receiver all year. Brandon Ayuk was out. I don't think he played a game, and they're still in this position. He has a feel for that team, and he does an unbelievable job coaching in game. And I'm starting to think that turnovers don't matter. Purdy's going to throw interceptions. Remember, the year the Rams won the Super Bowl, Matt Stafford led the league in interceptions. San Francisco turned the ball over a lot this year. Seattle turned the ball over a lot this year. Look where they're at. The stats are there. You can see them. So, but Kyle Shanahan's unbelievable. I made a mistake. I said that the window for the 49ers closed. I told a friend of mine this, and I might have been wrong. Now, I think it's going to be tough this week. They're out. They lost Kittle. They're just losing guys at an alarming rate. But I was blown away by it. And the Eagles, Sirianni should be let go. I'm not a Sirianni guy. I don't think he's a good in-game coach. I thought benching his players the week before was stupid. I would have rather played Green Bay than San Francisco any day of the week. Even though I like Matt LaFleur, I think he's a good coach. Jordan Love, not sharp. At least I didn't think he would be. They have some defensive problems, obviously, with Micah not there. I just thought you're not playing Christian McCaffrey, Purdy, and Kyle Shanahan. I just don't know why you'd want that. So Sirianni should be done. Good job, Eagles. There you go. Sitting starters last week of the season to drop to third. Yeah, it's stupid. You never do that. You just don't do it. There's no reason to. All right. With Leia taking back the drag car, any chance Tony Stewart getting in a 360 at Volusia? Isn't he supposed to do a truck or something down at Daytona? I didn't really look into it that deep, but I said about him returning to NASCAR. So No, I think Tony's probably still going to do some drag racing. So I wouldn't think. Yes, Tony is racing the 25 Dodge Ram truck at Daytona for colleague. Yep, there you go. Hi, Jeremy. Enjoy your show. Thank you very much. Haven't been to the local track since moving away 10 years ago. How's the camping situation these days? Should I motor home on up and catch a weekend of racing? Yeah, I would recommend Speed Week. Speed Week is the best because you see every track in the area, and you're going to get 2 at the Grove, 2 at Lincoln, 2 at Port. So if one rains out, there's a chance you're going to get the other one in. And then you get Hagerstown, which I like Hagerstown. I think it's a beautiful track as far as the surface. Can be a little fast sometimes, but I think it's a good surface. Grandview's always entertaining. You get Selinsgrove on the docket this year. I'm glad to see Selinsgrove back on the schedule. So, yeah, I think, and BAPS, I'm a BAPS guy. BAPS is probably my favorite track in the area, not because, just for the reason of I like the shape of it, I like the size, and I think it puts on really good racing. So I think if you're going to make a trip or kind of like a destination vacation, go to Speed Week. Or at least maybe, and if you can only do a weekend, come in the first weekend and see Williams Grove, Lincoln, BAPS, and Lincoln. The Monday Lincoln show at Pennsylvania Speed Week, $41,000 to win. It's $166,000 purse. It's the biggest in history of Lincoln and Pennsylvania Speed Week. Lincoln is my favorite track in PA. Well, there you go, Sugar Bear. He's back. I guess maybe wasn't a burner account. Do you like sprint car racing more than football and hockey? If so, why? That's a sliding scale. There's times I don't, when I get frustrated with how some things are run. And look, I run a business in sprint car racing, so that has its trials and no, boy, that's tough. They're pretty close. I also like college wrestling and good high school wrestling because in Pennsylvania, it's one of the best states for it, if not the best state for it. California is catching up a little bit, I think, and New Jersey also is pretty good. But I still love the NFL, man. I stayed home from the hockey game on Sunday to watch the NFL games. And I had some work to do too, but I didn't see any on Saturday. I love going with my daughter. My daughter is actually going to the Capitals San Jose Sharks game on Thursday. So she's going with my ex-wife. She'll enjoy that. So I'll be watching that. I like them all pretty close. Sprint car racing gets long for me sometimes. So I'd say it changes. But the NFL is probably number one. Do you ever run into Scott Tobias in Lebanon? I do not. It'd be a good deep dive, though, I think, if I could get a hold of him. I got to figure out how to get a hold of him. I'm trying to get a hold of this week's deep dive guy, and it's not turning out really well. Got to start that show up again. All right, what else do we got here? If Charlie Garrett retired, who is building Brian Brown's motors now? Good question. I think he probably has a bunch of them, or he probably made some deal. I was told Charlie's retiring. Now, it was his quote-unquote last day. Did that happen? I don't know. I mean, maybe he's just getting his guys ready for this year, but I was told that he is retiring. So I don't know what happens. Does Brian Brown get a chance to buy him and keep him? or because he can't resell a Charlie Garrett. At least you weren't allowed to. That's part of the rules for him. So I don't really know. I don't know what their deal is. I can check with Brian Brown. I got to call him anyway. If a car spins and collects the feel, should the car that spun out go behind the cars collected on the restart or get a spot back ahead of the other cars? Well, they around here, I mean, God knows what happens in other areas of the country. It goes by where you were running. Now, my opinion, he should go behind the other cars. But because when you score them, if they don't come back, let's say you have a 5-car wreck and none of the 5 guys come back, they're scored by where they were running. And that's how it usually is if they do come out. In my opinion, if you cause it, you should go behind the cars that came in late. But that can also be a problem as well. You know, a scoring problem. It could be, then you're using judgment calls. And you know how this sport is with judgment calls. It's not really that good. So, but no, that's an interesting question because how they do it sometimes doesn't make sense. Congrats to our 8:30 p.m. winner, Steve Bosley. Said that right, I guess. All right. We have a 9 o'clock one coming up in 27 minutes. Thank you very much for calling. And can't wait to see you at BAPS. Should be a good show. All right. Ask Lance DeWeese about adjustable shocks. I have a video of him winning a national open and having Penske adjustable shocks. Yes, but it wasn't one. I don't think it was one shock. That's the problem. If you had 4, yeah. But again, we're talking about 1. And I think that's the difference. When I talked to Ricky Warner and mentioned would it matter if you had more of them? He said, yes. Then you're changing 4 corners. You can only change 1 corner. So that seemed to be the difference. Why do you think Eric Carlson is having such a better year with the Pens? He's playing with Sidney Crosby. That helps. I just think, you look, different situations, progressing as a player, older, all the above. You throw in a lot of factors. So I think it could be anything like that. Rumor your California trip will include point race wrap up with the doctor. That's a good possibility. It's a good possibility. If I end up in California this year, there's some things up in the air. I've had some things come up in the last week and a half that could maybe change my season a little bit. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to go into it, but we'll see. We'll see what develops in the next 2 weeks, and things will get a little clearer as to where I'm going. But yes, if I go to California, a wrap-up show with the doctor is very, very possible if I can convince him to do it. You were pretty spot on with your Freddie Raymer prediction last year. Do you see him having a similar this year? It'll be interesting to see what his schedule looks like. I would assume he would run the series. Look, my projection was that Troy Walgeman Jr. and Freddie Raymer would be the 2 guys who run the series. I think you could have a couple more now and I say a couple, with it dropping down to 37. Maybe that opens the door for a kind of a mid-tier team to do it, because they don't have to go to all the Speed Week shows right in a row. Freddie has got to get better at Port Royal. He is, and what's weird about it is Port Royal used to be good for him. And then all of a sudden, just awful. I don't know why. I can't, so it's definitely a phone call I got to make. I want to see what his schedule is going to be. I know he recently had a child, so that obviously family matters. So I'm not sure what his full schedule is going to look like this year, but I would say the same amount of win, he'd been in and around the same wins. So, I think when he went back to his own team, I think you kind of got to build that up again to where it was before he got in the 8 car. So maybe I think he gets maybe two, 3 more wins this year than he had last year because, hey, he can, build on it. So we'll see. I think a lot of it's going to depend on his schedule, and there's less races at Lincoln this year. I think there's 25 as opposed to 33. So that's going to change things as well. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the schedule is. Are you going to do drivers and guess how many wins they get for 2026? I mean, I really haven't posted anything like that ever before. I've never done that before. I mean, I can maybe, I hope to save that stuff kind of for the 90 at 9, look, it's hard to come up with 250 90 at 9s a year. So I tend to, it really is a slippery slope. I said this when I did the Justin Fiedler interview a couple weeks ago. It's really hard for me sometimes to determine what I put on YouTube as to what I put on the website, because people pay on the website. So you want to give them their money's worth there as well. So it is a slippery slope, but I could see it being a 90 at 9. What did you think of the format Port did a few years ago for the Dream Race, where they ran 16-lap semis instead of heat races? I personally loved that. It was entertaining. The thing is, I don't like anything. I think if you do, the more you do it, it could be overkill. So and the drivers weren't totally loving that because it put more laps on their equipment. So that was something that was a concern to them. Now they took it and the Dream Races morphed a couple times they had 2 features that paid, what was it, 10,000 each, then 15,000 each. And, it's that race is always constantly changing, it seems like. And I think maybe that's the allure of it. So I think I was fine with it. I don't think it's something that you could do every week, though. What 2025 Woo or high limit rookies do you think will win races in 2026? Well, the big elephant in the room is, where's Emerson Axum going to go? Or is he not going to run anywhere? So, meaning with a national tour. I would find it hard to believe he wouldn't. But there's only one rookie for high limit, and that's Tanner Holmes at this point. So I could see Tanner winning once somewhere, West Coast. I think it's going to be a learning experience for him this year. So I could see him getting one, maybe. On the World of Outlaws side, well, you got Scotty Thiel, Scott Baguski. Man, it's so hard beating David Gravel. Those top 3, I don't think a rookie gets one this year for the Outlaws. And I think it's going to be, I give Tanner Holmes a low percentage for winning one with high limit. I think it's going to be really hard. The Outlaws, it's just Because if you beat David Gravel, that's all well and good. You still got to beat Buddy Kofoid. And if you manage to beat Buddy Kofoid and David Gravel, then you got to beat Carson Macedo. It is so hard. You don't often see those three guys run bad in one night. Or, I mean, that's a tall order to ask a rookie to outrun those three on one night. So that's one thing that I think. I don't think a rookie wins with the Outlaws, and I don't think that Tanner Holmes, it's a stretch to see him win one race. And if it happens, I think it's going to happen out on the West Coast. Maybe that stretch up through Oregon, somewhere like that. Wayne Harper is the best in PA. Dave Hare is the best in PA. As far as announcers. But that's opinion. SprintCarUnlimited consulting Jeremy's new side hustle to whip these tracks into shape. No, I mean, look, I'm not saying that I'm right all the time. No. Look, I know the Sealands Grove thing rubs people the wrong way. I mean, they won't give me a credential anymore because of what I said about Williams Grove. And that's fine. I have no angst toward them. It's just I've been around since 1977. I've seen promoters come and go. I've seen tracks be successful and have bad years. I've seen the behind the scenes finances of a racetrack. Obviously, I've done stories on cost analysis. In fact, we had it a year ago on High Limit in the World of Outlaws. So it's just being around a long time, seeing a lot of stuff. I'm not always right. And I have no problem saying when I was wrong. Eagles on what? Eagles are Doobie Brothers. Eagles. Close though. Neither is I'm more of a Fleetwood Mac guy. I'm not a fan of the current version of the Packers under Matt LaFleur. Jesus, sugar. And Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur is a good coach. Just keep him. Just keep him. Just keep him. A lot of injuries this year. Just keep them. If they can bolster the offensive line a little more, they'll be fine. Camp at the Port Royal Lions Club, park for the Tusky or Weichert, absolute best. Can't argue with it. I would choose Speed Week, but yes, those shows are can't miss shows. Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac was best era. There you go. Jeremy, did you wrestle in high school? I went to state. I got beat, but was a great run. No, I didn't. I chose football. And at that time, you really didn't cross over. Nowadays, it's almost like cross training. They encourage it. No, I played football. Too small, but played football. I wish I would have wrestled. Size, how big you are doesn't matter. You're in a weight class. Plus, it's a discipline that I think takes you through life. The good ones, especially. What happened to Rick Lafferty? He comes out. I see him at the racetrack. Every once in a while, he pulls his car out and races. I think when he feels the fields aren't really strong, and he thinks he can qualify and make a little jingle. He's not a guy who's going to go and race a 40-car field and try and beat his head against the wall. He's a kind of a low buck guy. It's so you only see him in spot starts. It's very infrequent. I think you'll see him at the beginning of the year because he can draw. If he draws the front, and let's face it, it's a little narrow on daytime surfaces. He feels he can hang. So I just think the days of seeing him every week and really more than 5 to 10 races a year are over. And who knows? He might retire. That I'm unsure of. I ran a Wallace Racing Experience 305 at BAPS years ago. I suck, but I like to be able to look in the mirror. I suck, but I had fun. I was the last group. Thankfully, there were only 2 of us on track and got lapped a bunch out of the 15 laps we ran. Yeah, BAPS is a fun place. A lot of guys like it there. I hear very little negative feedback on the track at BAPS. Some say it's a little dusty. Well, yeah, you're running on dirt. What do you expect? So I know other tracks are way dustier. There's even, I think, Port's dustier. It's just a different type of dust. And in the sense of, because it's different kind of clay. I also think with a big track, a big half mile like that, I think it's not as noticeable. And if you really want dust, go to Charlotte or Lima Land. Whoo, that's dust. But no, I like BAPS a lot. Over under Celebrini 1.5 points versus Capitals. Damn it. Caps are struggling right now. Logan Thompson's in goal. They have good goaltenders, though. I'm going to go above. That guy is awesome. And when Connor McDavid is gone, I think Celebrini and McKinnon, because they're significantly older than he is. McKinnon, McDavid, Draisaitl, guys like that. I think when they're kind of their careers are winding down, and if Celebrini doesn't get hurt or all the things that can happen in a hockey career, he's going to be the best in the league. He is phenomenal, and he can score from any angle. Any angle. Jeremy, was Chili Bowl a bigger deal back in the day? It seems like it has lost its luster. I don't agree with that. I think if you look at just talking to some people on the ratings end of it, the crowds are still good, if not more. Obviously, 404 entries. It's not losing its luster from a car count standpoint. So, excuse me. So no, I don't think it's losing its luster at all. I think it's an event. I mean, a lot of people think that basically the 2026 season starts with the Chili Bowl. So a lot of people like it. Again, that's their prerogative. I'm not going to poo-poo them, but not my bag. But yeah, no, it's not lost its luster. I don't buy that for a second. Why does nobody in PA have new cars out yet? DeWeese had a rendering. DeWeese had a rendering of his car. It was an AI generated rendering. Looked decent. Just not. We don't do a lot of that here. We just don't. You show up at Lincoln, that's when you see it. Dietrich will likely do it. You'll see some at the Racing Extravaganza show at the beginning of February. It's the 30th and 1st, I believe, this year. So you'll see some there, but it's just not something Pennsylvania does a lot of. Dietrich will do it. I'm sure he'll have something out at some point. I'd like to see more sprint car teams do car scheme releases like Tanner Thorson did with his midget. It definitely was a nice touch. Look, I think older fans won't agree with this. Look, it's a social media world. Whether I like it or anybody it's just the way it is. people get their news from social media, which is ridiculously odd to me. But social, yeah, I mean, it's engagement, your sponsors, merchandise, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, if I had a car, I'd probably do something. And Tanner Thorson probably got pre-orders for shirts and all kinds of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. It's not my thing, but I always like going to the track opening day. When I used to go to Penn National to see modifieds, I couldn't wait to see the cars or Silver Springs. Couldn't wait to see the cars because you didn't have social media back then. And it was always kind of interesting to see the new schemes. And then the Grove, when I started going there in 84 and it's going to more sprint car races. So, but it's a different world now. I will go to California if Jeremy Elliott goes. Then 50-50 shot I go at this point. So might have to get ready, Sugar Bear. Will the Dodgers three-peat? Yes. Yeah, now they got a closer. They got that closer from the Mets. I don't think they had a great closer last year, and yeah, it'd be hard to beat. Do you think Logan Wagner will run the whole PA series? Hang on a second. I can't even talk. Well, Logan Wagner will run the whole PA series. He's been my favorite. No way he runs the whole series. No, he's going to move around more this year, though. He's not going to just stay at Port. Sorry, the question was, will he run the whole PA series? No way. No way. I talked to him at PRI. He's going to kind of jump around a little bit. They're still trying to build that team more. So I just don't think 37 races even is in his wheelhouse right now. Plus, he still flies. So, do you okay, we already answered that one. More 410 wins in 2026, Sanders or Abreu? Ooh. Sanders will win more. Oh, you said 410 wins. Shit. That changes it. Man, that's so tough. That Lauda, Jesus, killing me. They're both going to get 10. They're both get double digits. If Sanders runs NARC, he'll throttle him. I'll still go with Sanders. It'll be very, 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 very close. 98.9 needs more rumors and false reports to get people talking during the off months. Sugar Bear, I can't do rumors and false reports. It's back to my newspaper background. I can't do that. I won't do that. It's disingenuous. I can't do that. Should the quality God, I can't read now. Should the quality Learning Center sponsor a 410 team? Heard they have a lot of cash. Oh, that's that deal in Minneapolis. No. Yeah, there's fraud everywhere. You know what they say? Follow the money. Do you collect trading cards? No, I do not. When I was a kid, I had baseball cards and football cards, but no, I do not. Jeremy, 100 laps, 2 open reds, 33 lap segments, Port Royal 100. No. How dare you? No. I don't want to see 100-lap sprint car races ever. Does Anthony Macri win the King's Royal this year? No. I think I had that question last week. Will Jet Lawrence beat McGrath's 72 wins? I don't know. I don't know that. Look at Eric smiling at me. New PA Sprint Series is mirror of the All-Star Series. Except it doesn't go to another state. I don't think it mirrors it. All-Stars go to New York. Well, the old All-Stars went to New York. They went to Pennsylvania. They went to Indiana. They went to Michigan. They went to, obviously Ohio. So no, and even the new one, they're going to Pennsylvania. They're going obviously in Ohio. I think they're going to Michigan this year. Not 100% sure. I didn't comb through the schedule. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but still. And the pay, I don't think it really mirrors it. And there's no mulligans with the All-Stars. The mulligans, they make no sense to me. If you need mulligans, that means you have too many races. Throwaway races. I don't understand that at all. Do you have an on-the-road homeless workout program? Jesus. No, I do not. When I go to Florida, I will go to a gym. Thank you. So no, I do not. Guys, rough, harsh. Funny, but harsh. Did you ever have an opportunity to work for Woo or Flow? Would you if asked? I've been told I was going to get calls about that a time or two, but I would never do that. Meaning for Woo, they couldn't pay me enough. It's just I have bills. Flo and I at one time have talked about a merger, just never materialized. I've never talked about this before, but yes, I mean, they've approached me about maybe possibly purchasing SprintCarUnlimited. It never materialized. We've talked and whatnot. Would I if asked? I would not work for a traveling series because I'm not going to go on the road. I have a 13-year-old, and at 53 years old, I don't want to be committed to going all over the country with a traveling series. Plus, I kind of like the idea that I can write about what I want. I don't have to bury something if I think it's wrong. Flow would be a better option for me if that's something that ever worked out. I would entertain anything on that just so I could keep my, being able to express the opinions I have. I'm not going to be shackled. I'm just not going to do that at this point. I never have been, and I'm not going to start now. So you never know. You never know. Who knows? Things change. Offers come in. I would entertain anything as long as I could keep my journalistic integrity. Who will be the next Steelers coach? Flores. I think Flores is the favorite. He was there before. They liked him. I could see him going there. Stoked the 69K is coming to Skagit. You should be. I think it's a great get for that race. I mean, Ryan Hand and I talked about it on the podcast, which again will be out tomorrow. I just think it's such an iconic car, and they won at Volusia. They've run second at Texas. They They've done well at Knoxville a time or two. Look, that car runs well. And Darren Pittman's going to be in it. I mean, I'm not going to say he can't win the Super Dirt Cup by any stretch. So I think it's great he's going out there. I think it's good for the race itself. I think it's good for for Skagit. So yeah, no, I'm all for it. I think it's really good. Anytime you get a car like that to come from the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast, those fans know that car. So I think it's a good get for them. This is your 9 p.m. reminder that we are giving away tickets to the Baps Motor Speedway's Eagle Air Aviation $5 Keystone Nationals. Get your tickets. You can win 2 tickets or it's only $5 to get in, but still it's you get freebies. It's a 410 sprint car show, regular 410 sprint car show, not cut, anything like that. It's going to be a pretty big event in the area. Does Port Grove pay to have Woo High Limit come in, or do the series lease the tracks? I'd love to know more about all the inner workings involved. The Grove is one of the few sanctioned Woo events, meaning it's all on them. They pay a $25,000 sanction fee to the World of Outlaws to come in. There's no split. There's no joint venture. A lot of these shows are what they call JV shows, which is you pay the Outlaws a sanction fee, and then all the money gets thrown together and chopped, whether it's a loss or a gain. So I don't know where concessions falls into it. I have it in my story that I did in 2024, but High Limit's the same principle. And I think Port Royal has their sanction deal. I think that they pay a sanction fee and then it's their show. So yeah, I mean, that's their High Limit and World of Outlaws events, but those tracks pay the sanction fee and it's all on them. I was a season ticket holder for the Bears for about 7 years, and all I heard from all the old fans were the Capitals are taking our players. Why would they want to play there? Drove me nuts. Yeah, well, those fans don't understand that the object's to get to the NHL, and they're really Capitals players, not Bears players, unless you're on a strictly AHL deal. But if the Capitals need players, somebody gets hurt up there. This year Triniev's been up this year. Miroshnichenko's been up this year. Stevenson's been up, the goalie. They just took Leeson up there. I mean, yeah, you're back and forth all the time as the big club needs you. That's hockey. That's AHL hockey, and they're affiliated with teams in the NHL. That's the way it is. I get frustrated by that too. Who will be the next upcoming NHL superstar? Faber, Hughes, or Celebrini? It's Macklin Celebrini. Neither of them. It's Macklin Celebrini. Happy for Bad Company in R&R Hall of Fame. Jeremy, ever heard them? Yeah, I know who Bad Company is. Yeah. Yeah, they were all right. I mean, I like every song, but yeah, they had some good songs. Absolutely. Should probably be in. Jeremy, favorite pizza place? Italian Village in Lebanon, PA. It's the best pizza I've ever had. It's this older Italian guy and his family run it, and it's really, really good. And I obviously had pizza a lot of places. Just look at me, which I'm trying to work on that. But their pizza's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's my favorite pizza place. My dad would disagree because And my dad, sometimes he doesn't like it. He gets cheesesteaks and stuff, and sometimes they're not as good. But I'm a Italian Village in Lebanon, PA. It's really good. And no, I'm not a pizza Midwest breakfast pizza guy. That I would never do that. Eric's already laughing at me. Any update on Devin Borden? I know he's trying to get a ride. He's trying to get a ride in this area. I just don't know where he ends up. There's not a lot of rides open in this area. Maybe he ends up running the 1W again, John Westbrook's car. I don't know. Just not a lot of options out there. You know, he ran the Brian Grove car last year. Obviously, that didn't work out, and his tenure's ended there. So I really don't know where he ends up. Wouldn't want to be looking for a ride right now. Not at this point in the season. Okay. Prediction for the first full fuel stop controversy. 28 versus 33 gallon fuel cell seems to be a dead subject for now. That's sprint car racing. We'll have an issue spark up, and then it goes away. It's replaced by something else. I'm sure at some point this year we will hear the same rhetoric about fuel cells, and then see what happened last year. A bunch of places adjusted their laps until they could take a fuel stop. That's why I think we saw more fuel stops last year. It felt like to me, I didn't count them, but it felt like to me there were more fuel stops last year than I've seen in a long time. Reason being what happened at Vegas. People started asking questions. They changed their lap counts and dropped them by 5 so their guys wouldn't run out of fuel. So then it kind of went away. But that's sprint car racing. We see this with safety all the time. We'll do the thoughts and prayers thing. We'll do some kind of, I don't know, slight rule change, then it goes away. It's safety by convenience. That's issues in sprint car racing. Everything's of convenience. So that's one of the frustrating things for me. Nothing really seems to get solved very often. So, but the fuel cell thing, they just cut down their laps. And then it kind of took care of itself. Best station on Sirius, Tom Petty's Buried Treasure. Okay. I have Sirius. I have it mostly for sports, but now my daughter commandeers the hockey stations in the car when we get in the car together. So it makes it difficult. But I'll check it out. Go Bills. That's Jim from Buffalo. Look at him. He's all happy. His Sabres are doing well. His Bills are doing well. Jesus. Don't you think NASCAR races are too long? I don't really watch them. And yes, I used to watch them. I just lost interest. It's Sunday. If I don't go to a race, I don't even want to. I don't want to. No. Yeah, I don't watch them. That doesn't mean they're not good. It doesn't mean that they don't have their niche fan base as well. It's just not my thing. Is there more money in late model than sprint car racing? If so, why? Yes, there's more money in late model racing. And I think because there's more late models, there's a ton more late models. And I just think that's a big part of it. It's just more self-sufficient, it seems like to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's more of them. It's more popular, I would say. So I think you have more guys who are good as well. I think your top tier is a lot bigger than in sprint car racing. So I just think it's late model's bigger. That's the way it is. 38 Special or ZZ Top. I like ZZ Top. ZZ Top. Saw them in concert once. In fact, I saw 38 Special as well. They were really good, but I liked ZZ Top. How much would you charge Flo for Sprint Car Unlimited? Okay, we're not going there. We're not going there. Boston or Kansas? Kansas. Wasn't Pittman slow in the Myers 14 in Skagit? Yeah, I think everybody was slow in the 14 except for Corey Day. They were all slow. Or slower. Jeremy, tacos. No, I don't eat tacos. Jeremy, Jonathan Davenport is charging appearance fees to race at tracks. Have sprint car drivers done this? Yes, it has happened at different times over the years. There's even a couple prominent drivers now who have done it. I'm not going to get into names, but yes, it has been done in the past. Not normal, but yes, it's been done. Jeremy, will you be catching a Vegas Knights game when visiting in March? If they are in town, and if High Limit doesn't race for whatever reason, wind, hail, locust, I will be at the Vegas game. Yes, I will try and get tickets. Peter Green or Rory Gallagher? Peter Green. Jeremy, have you heard or seen any update about the sweet grandstand expansion in turn 4 at Port Royal? I saw they've been working on it. I have not seen any kind of update on it. They've been pretty quiet about it, which I don't really understand. But I think that they just aren't as active on social media. But yes, I have seen as they progressed through the process of building this thing, I have seen it. It should be pretty good from what everything it looks like. Night Ranger or Sticks? Sticks. Night Ranger. The Penguins are in town Thursday night. Yeah, I saw it. I was looking at it. I already have the plan if they don't race for whatever reason that I'm going to try and hightail it over there and see a game. My daughter will be jealous. I already told her I'm going to do it. Brooklyn Boys Pizza, Mooresville. Yeah, Colton and I have actually gone there, and it's really good. Now I get the pasta, but it's good. But I'll take Italian Village's pizza over Brooklyn Boys. Although best Sicilian pizza I've had is Brooklyn Boys, and I don't get Sicilian a lot because I'm particular about it. It can be too doughy, and I don't really want that. But Brooklyn Boys is really good in Mooresville. If you get a chance to go, it is worth it. From Billy's book, Ted Johnson was so pissed that Pouch in the Zemco car won. They tore that car down at Tech. Billy flat out beat him. Yeah. Yeah, the current group wouldn't care because now, again, Ted was Ted. But after Ted, like once you got to the World Racing Group side, they understood that when locals win, it's better for business the next time they come around. More seats are bought. I mean, I talked to Tom Deary many times about that. They liked when the locals won because next time they came to Pennsylvania, guaranteed to sell more seats. So in any rivalry, both sides got to win. So, but I don't doubt that about Ted. Johnny Winter or Ted Nugent? Probably Ted Nugent. Not it. Not a big fan, but yeah, Ted. Will Caleb Montgomery be racing in Ohio with Burmeister racing in 2026? No. Caleb Montgomery's not, he doesn't have that ride. That is Gage Garcia. Gage Garcia has that ride. Miami or Indiana? I'm hoping for Miami. I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm just going to watch the game. I'm over the Indiana thing. It should be good. I mean, Miami's defense is legit. They run the ball down your throat. They're physical. They have athletes. I mean, that's good athletes. Beck has been around a while, so there's experience at quarterback. Indiana, the one thing I worry about Indiana, I'm still waiting for that bad game. Hopefully it doesn't happen Monday night, and I just don't know how good Mendoza is. It's college. But should be a good game. Indiana's look great. Very opportunistic, take advantage of turnovers, close the deal when they get those turnovers, and they get out in front of you fast, and they know they don't take their foot off the accelerator. So they're not going to let you back in it. So Miami's got to be buttoned up early. Jeremy, will Devin Borden win a 410 sprint car feature in 2026? No. Nope. The Cure or Depeche Mode? Depeche Mode. Will Bell run the 69K at Las Vegas? No, they are not going to Las Vegas. Kicks or poison? Oh, God. Well, certainly not poison. That's a hard listen for me. Probably neither of them. Kicks has like one song that I like, so no. Neither. Where's the best place to sit at a hockey game? Oh, God. I do not. Okay, for me, I like sitting up a little bit, and I like sitting between blue line to blue line. My season tickets are up in the 200 level at Hershey, but I'm at center ice. Like I'm slightly like 2 feet left of center ice. So I don't like being in the ends. I want to see down. I want to see everything I can on the other end of the ice. So I tend to, I'll sacrifice and be up a little to see more of the ice. And that just goes back to when I was I covered some hockey games when I was at the newspaper, and obviously where I was positioned, I could see everything I needed to see. And I don't like not being able to see the other end properly. So, I mean, I've sat in the corners already, but I've been up. So I like to stand somewhere between, the red circle, the face-off circle in the offensive zone to the other blue line. I like when I was when we went to Pittsburgh, we were in the lower section, which was great, but we were up a little bit. And the way it kind of sat, I could see the other end enough, but we were like at the face-off circle. So that's about, I mean, look, you got to take what you can get when you're going to an NHL arena, but I like seeing as much of the ice as I can. Striper or winger? Neither. Don't like either of them. Jim from Buffalo calling to save the day. Jim, how are you?
Oh, I'm just doing great. Think of me as Super Dave Osborne, right? So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the Coyote versus the Roadrunner, but
You're in your glory this week.
But I am. You know what? That was a hell of a tough game. That was the tough game. We're down to 3 wide receivers, and who knows what's going to happen in Denver. I mean, I think we can beat them. We got playoff experience. We got a grizzled veteran, and we got playoff Josh.
I take the under. I think the under is 46.5, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. I don't pay too much attention to that gambling stuff. But
Okay.
I got to tell you, I asked Pappy Knapp what the hell do you give those kids that played in that between periods at the Bears game the other day? Holy crap, I want that. What was it, number 14 kid that ran over the other kid and pounded out the goalie? Jesus, those kids are like 10U or something like that. That was the best fight I've seen all year.
It was an embarrassment. It was just total crap. It was crap.
I
mean,
I don't know.
What happens?
Must be the scrapple they feed them around there, right?
What happens when an 8-year-old doesn't know what he's doing and catches a skate in the neck?
Oh, I know.
It was irresponsible.
I've been playing since I was 5, and what's that?
It was irresponsible. And here's the other thing I don't understand. People go, "Oh, well, they're having fun." You know what? Isn't it fun to just be in front of 10,000 people showcasing skill? That's not fun enough anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, at that age, I blame it on the parents.
Absolutely,
because
it's the coaches.
I played since I was 5. I coached for 20 years. I refereed for 15 years up to the ECHL. I know the game, and the worst people in the world are like 10U, 12U, and 14U parents.
Yep.
They're absolutely horrible. They're worse than a drunk guy at a sprint car race.
Ooh, bold statement, Cotton. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Hey, sprint car racing. I don't know. I came in a little bit later. What's going on with Zeb? And have you heard anything from the mayor of Port Royal?
Nothing on Zeb. I think Zeb's enjoying life, working regular job. Civilian life, I guess, so to speak. So I've heard nothing in regards to Zeb. As far as Dylan Cisney, as far as I know, the Stuart Smith 27S is an option. And I know he still has his car that he was working on. So I think you're going to see Dylan Cisney next year.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. That would be great. He's a super nice guy, and everything like that.
Yep. Dylan's good.
I like the guy, he's a clean racer. He races hard. Sometimes he wins, sometimes you don't, but you know what? Most of the time he rolls the car back on the trailer at the end of the night. And that's a huge thing. Some people just don't understand that.
Yeah. You don't want to be putting it back together, especially when you're not a high funded team.
Right. And just one other thing, hockey seats depend on what you're looking for.
Sure.
If you're the casual fan, center ice about 10 rows up. If you're the hardcore fan, in the corner, a little bit up so you can see the formation of the play. That's where a lot of scouts like to see. They like to see the breakout passes and stuff like that. And if you just want to have fun and see the speed of the game, sit either to the left or the right of the goalie, right behind him on the glass. You'll be ducking pucks. I mean,
well, they have the
it's
netting
amazing
up
the
now.
speed.
They have the netting up now. You don't catch pucks anymore. The netting.
Well, I'm talking right behind the glass in the first row.
Oh yeah. You catch them there. I like to see. For me, I want to see the other end. I want to see multiple. I want to be able to see everything. And I wouldn't call myself a casual fan. I'm like I said, I'm up in the 200 level. Would I like to be down in the lower level? Sure. The seats are a little different. They're a little more comfortable, but I like it. I mean, like I said, in Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh was phenomenal. It's just a great arena to go to. The igloo was fabulous, and I sat in the face-off circle on the end they were trying to score at twice. So it was really good, and we enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when my buddy and I go out to nationals, we've decided that we're going to put our seats in the first row on the back straightaway about halfway down, because you can see pretty much everything from there.
Yeah.
But you're close enough you can really listen to the cars, and you can see who's accelerating going into 3, who's floating it through the back straightaway. I mean, those are great seats. If people going to nationals haven't tried it in the back straightaway, you need to try it. You're a lot closer. You can hear them. You can feel them sometimes. And it seems to be a lot less. If there is any dust, it seems to be a lot less sitting there than it does in the front. I mean, people call me crazy, but hey, people like different things. That's why they got 20,000 seats.
Variety, baby, variety.
Yeah, that's right. And as far as the battle of the bands, I go with the Canadian band, the Tragically Hip, best band in hockey. And as always, go Bills.
Now we're to the Bills. Jim, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. All right, let's get rolling through these last few, and we're going to get out of here. We know back in the day, the indoor sprint car race didn't do well. I think it was 1994. With today's pay-per-view and social media, do you think it could be done? I think one of the biggest problems is, when are you going to do it? There seems to be something every weekend in the off season, and I just don't think there's room for it anymore. I think that was down at Tropicana Field down in Florida, where the Rays played. If I'm not mistaken, it might have had a Suncoast Dome, or at that time it might have had a different name. But yeah, it just, I don't know when you'd have it. So yeah, pay-per-view would be great, social media and all that. I don't know if you could get the drivers anymore with the supply problems, getting parts, everything like that. I just think it's a logistical nightmare at this point, because I just don't know where you put the race and what weekend. With PRI, all the dome, you're not going to run over top of that. You have Chili Bowl, you have all these things going on, and you know what? Just take the time off. That's it. Just take some time off. We have enough big races during the season. Jeremy, thoughts on memories of Ted Johnson? He was mad at me once. Like, really mad. He went into the Grove, the tower. He went into the Grove office and was asking for me where I was at, which I was in the infield at the time. I was covering the race, obviously. But we had a discussion. I mean, obviously he started the World of Outlaws. I think everything Donnie Schatz says about Ted Johnson is pretty accurate. Now, I also think Ted had I don't want to say shadiness about him, but I think, look, when you were trying to do what he did, there were deals made. It was the World of Outlaws for a reason. But I do think Ted Johnson was such a huge part of this sport and what sprint car racing is today. I don't have bad words to say about Ted Johnson. He was great for the sport. And I mean, let's face it, look at the guys who came out of the World of Outlaws and what this sport has become. So, yeah, I mean, Ted definitely a Hall of Famer, and I think Brian Carter should be a Hall of Famer as well. What is something new racetracks could try in 2026? Or what is something new tracks could do? Just use your resources. Use social media. Think outside the box. And for God's sake, you got to be a multi-purpose or multi-entertainment facility. You've got to maximize the land you have, the facility you have. I don't understand just running races anymore, because it just, you're just leaving a lot of money on the table. Expand your product to different audiences and try and draw people. Somebody said no work area. Yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately there's people who like the work area. But again, just use your resources better, think outside the box, and be a multi-entertainment facility. Bring in new people. All right, what else do we got? Johnny Gibson or Chase Rodman? I was asked this last week. It depends what you're looking for. They each bring something different. I really don't have a preference, and that's not a cop-out. I don't have a preference. It's fine to me. Gibson's been around longer. It's a little more serious and structured, I think, whereas High Limit's kind of hip, new, so on and so forth. I think you both do a good job. I think it's super tough to do what they do. And I think the Connor Wade and Tony Laporta, they have the hardest jobs in the sport as far as commentating. They never know when they're coming. And Chase Rodman, I think Chase Rodman's probably more versatile than Johnny Gibson because he did the pit reporting thing. And man, you never know when they're coming to you. You have no script. You have no notes. Yeah, you have notes that you read over, but they're not in front of you. So I really respect the pit guys because it's just hard. It's off the cuff every time they come to you. So, but as far as, I don't have a preference. I really don't. I said last week, it depends. There's sometimes I prefer Johnny Gibson or sometimes I prefer Chase. It just depends. I don't like yelling. Al Michaels doesn't need to yell to make an event great. So I just wish less yelling. Van Halen with David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? David Lee Roth. Come on. Which sprint car drivers charged appearance fees? I'm not telling you that. I watched Dirt Vision's Chili Bowl pre-race show yesterday and was very surprised how they mentioned Flo, even suggesting they tune into Flo after their coverage. Is this a sign of things to come? I'm really surprised by that too. Who was doing the Dirt Vision broadcast or doing the pre-race? If it was Connor Wade, I absolutely understand it. And remember, Dirt Vision and World Racing Group, even though Dirt Vision's under the World Racing Group umbrella, they're a little more open. They're a little more open about mentioning like High Limit. Like Connor Wade does it. And there you go. It was Connor Wade and Dave Reif. So, again, that doesn't surprise me then. Connor Wade probably has more of a journalistic approach to his craft, so that doesn't surprise me at all. So no, I don't think it has anything to do. I don't think that is a sign of things to come. No, I definitely don't believe that. Have you ever owned a dog? Yes, I have. These are weird questions. Yes, I've owned a dog. I own a cat right now. In fact, I don't even know where my cat is. Have you heard anything on the Lane Racing 4 or the Logan Fenton open rides? Nothing on the Lane car. Logan Fenton had something in the works. He didn't want to say anything last time I talked to him, but there is something in the works. Now, whether it's, I kind of know what it is, but I haven't heard anything lately, so I'm wondering if it fell through. So stay tuned for that. I might have something soon. What needs to be done to bring back the 358s in PA? Seems everything is 305 and 410 now. Well, I know cars had their rules. Then they did that deal with the heads. as around the Pack Cannon time. And then they, of course, then Sealands Grove, no 358. So it's just transitioned. And I just think they've gotten more expensive. And that's not what the 358s was for. And I think that's chased some people away. And now they're only at Lincoln and Williams Grove. Although I think you're going to see more 358 races at BAPS this year. So I think you could see a little expansion this year, a little bit. So just stay tuned for that. There's some information that'll come out, and I think you're going to see some more 358 races this year. A few, which is a start. Jeremy, should tracks broadcast the commentary on radio channels or so we can listen on our pocket radios at the track? It's not a bad idea. Why not? I don't think that's a bad idea. Kind of has a nostalgic feel to it. I mean, I don't know if that's something they'd ever do, but why not? Lance Blevins or Brad Furr? Oof. Brad Furr. Will the Phillies get Bo Bichette? I'm not a baseball guy, to be honest with you. That's out of my what I would range or expertise. Yeah, that's not. I know enough to get through, but not that deep. Silver Spring Speedway could it kept going and would be a popular track today if still there. Yeah, it was a very old fan base. So I questioned, man, the racing was so great there. I don't know if it would be as strong as it was back then because just expenses, things change. They would have had to get more kids because again, it was an older fan base, even older than probably what we have now. So could it have survived? Yeah, but a lot of pressure in that area, highly populated area from a business standpoint on the Carlisle Pike. It was coveted land. So, I mean, I don't blame Alan Kreitzer for letting that go. Like I said, he was getting a lot of pressure back there. If I'm not mistaken, just a lot of people wanting that land. So could it have survived? Yeah, probably, but it would have had to change a little bit. Cool and the Gang are no, stop it. Cool and the Gang are Commodores. No opinion on that. None. Judas Priest or Iron Maiden? It's a tough call. Probably lean a little Judas Priest. Close, though. Real close. Have you ever rode in an Amish buggy? No, I have not. That's Lancaster County, not Lebanon. Have you ever eaten at Shady Maple Smorgasbord, and is it good? Yes, I've eaten there, and yes, it's good. I haven't eaten there years, but yes, it is good, or at least it was last time I was there. My daughter just was there a couple weeks ago for someone's birthday, I believe. It was a couple weeks ago because her grandmother was going back to Florida. They went there and she said it was really good. So, but I haven't been there in years. Do you play poker? I have. I don't have time to do it now. Jeremy, who attends to your cat when you travel to sprint car races? I have a variety of people come in. My cat's self-sufficient. They're cats. They're self-sufficient. All you have to do is feed her, 3 times a day. She gets a third of a cup. So she gets 1 cup a day, just spread 3 times. Usually though, they come in twice and they clean her litter box every day. She's good. She's pretty self-sufficient. That's why I couldn't have a dog now, because my job wouldn't allow that. No way. No, my cat's name is Chloe. My mom, who died a year and a half or 2 years ago, named my cat. So it's Chloe. It's not Sprinty. Not everything's racing, Sugar Bear. I like my breaks from it. Does the cat have a work area? Yeah, everywhere in the apartment, she thinks it's hers. If you've ever had a cat. Would Sprint Car Unlimited ever sponsor a youth sports team a la Chico's bail bonds for the Bad News Bears? You guys are killing me tonight. This is what happens when I go up against the Chili Bowl. No, it's okay. I don't know. I don't know if I would or not. I know it wouldn't be that hockey team that at the Bears game the other night. Did you ever eat any hot dogs from the home dog stand? He's from your area, and if you're familiar with him, he does content online. A local guy from my area bought his. No, I've never even heard of anything like that. Never. Chloe Elliott, the cat. Come on. No, that we don't do last names. It's just Chloe. I'm sure I've called her some other things at times, but all right, that's a wrap on the questions. Again, thank you very much to everybody who joined the chat. I know we were up against the Chili Bowl, so that's tough sledding, but not bad. I'll take it, and we'll be back next Tuesday. Stay tuned.